We recommend listening to the CW Pod with a glass of Steeple Ridge Bourbon. Grown, distilled, well-rested, and bottled in Erling, Iowa. Now from the Channel Seed Studios, this is the CW Pod, fueled by Steeple Ridge.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's CW Pod here on Iowa Everywhere. We are presented as always by our friends at Steeple Ridge Bourbon. The folks out in Steeple Ridge appreciate all of you guys picking up bottles of their fine bourbon. Of course, you can find the 7 Penny Deuce rum. You can find Lonely Oak Distillery products all over the great state of Iowa. We appreciate their sponsorship. Every time you pick up a bottle, it not only helps Iowa Everywhere, it helps one of our great supporters from day one, my buddy Pat Hoffman. So pick it up today. Everything that we are about here, supporting the great locally owned companies in the state of Iowa, like the Lonely Oak Distillery. Today's CW Pod will be a shorter one, but because a lot is going to develop between now at about noon on Tuesday and when Chris Hassel and I go back on the air Thursday at 8:30, because the SEC is having its spring meetings. And what I'm going to attempt to do today is kind of give you guys the lay of the land of what in the heck is going on. I'm going to dumb it down for everybody. So I'm going to try and not do too much inside baseball type stuff here. But also give you my take on it, because here's the deal. Everybody's arguing right now. I have a couple of key points today. Everybody's arguing right now in college athletics about the future of the college football playoff. You all know this. Hassel and I talked about it at the end of our show on Memorial Day. And basically the Big Ten and the SEC are saying we want 4 guaranteed spots in the future playoff. Everybody else is saying that's absolutely ludicrous. That's not a playoff. My friend Brent Bloom put it well today on Psych Month Fanatic, where he says that's not a playoff, that's an invitational, and he's exactly right. We want to like a real playoff. I imagine the NCAA tournament over the last 50 years, one of the most, if not the most popular sporting event in the entire country, right? On the opening day of the NCAA basketball tournament, every year, no matter what, the Big 12, the SEC, the Big 10 had 8 guaranteed teams, even in years that the league sucks. That sucks. We don't like. It's just bad. It's bad for the sport. It's bad for the fans. I would make an argument that it's bad for the teams because they don't have to work as hard. You don't excel if you're given things in life. But that's a whole philosophical thing we don't need to get into right now. But the more I'm reading these quotes that are flying around the internet from these meetings and everything prior to it, and we'll have time to dissect the 4 team guarantee, all that stuff, whatever. In my opinion, though, this is all about these play-in games that we've been talking about for months. For those of you who that's a little bit fuzzy, the play-in games are, so the Big Ten and the SEC want to create these like play-in weekends to basically stage a 4-team tournament to get the final 2 teams. So if they're guaranteed 4, they're going to have like a 4-team tournament to secure the other 2 playoff spots within their respective leagues. And the reason they want to do this so badly is because they will own that exclusively, and they can make more money off of it and not have to share the money. So like the college football playoff, they have to share that money with the other conferences. So this would be another guaranteed big payday for these conferences that they don't have to share with everybody else. Does that make sense? So the reason, like in my mind, the reason they're digging in so much on this is not necessarily because they need the 4 guaranteed spots in the playoff. I think they are doing this because they know if they have 4 guaranteed spots, then they can get their top 2 in it for sure. So like really the championship game makes no sense at this point. Like a Big Ten championship game if the first and second play, like unless like they really care about the championship, but I would make an argument that that's pretty irrelevant at this point if the loser is in the playoff anyways. Even though most years the loser's probably going to be it anyways, but right, it's semantics. But what they want here is the 2 teams in for sure, and to be able to have the guaranteed 2 more so that they can stage this pseudo play-in tournament that they own the media rights exclusively to. What would that be worth? I don't know. But you're looking at extra tens of millions of dollars to be pumped into these leagues. So again, like what I think on the surface, most people are discussing the guaranteed 4 teams getting in the playoff for these 2 leagues. I think under the hood, it's these play-in tournaments that they want the value for, because I think they see more value in these, maybe even than the guaranteed 2 spots in the playoff. Like that's going to be revenue too, to get those teams into the playoffs. So they're going to double dip here. But without the guaranteed 4, they can't have their play-in tournament to go and sell to ESPN or Amazon or Fox or whoever. So all this talk about the 4-4-2-2-1 concept or wherever we're at, I bring back to these play-in tournaments that the Big Ten and the SEC want to hold. And the Big 12 and the ACC will do it too if they have to. They're gonna copycat and make extra revenue as well. A couple other notes I have, as I've been kind of immersing myself in this over the last 12 hours, is are you like me? Like I miss the old Big Ten. Like I've been hypercritical of Jim Delaney over the years because there's nobody, in my opinion, who has done more to get us to this point where we are in college athletics over the course of history than Jim Delaney. You know, but I still respect the man for being a visionary. The thing about Jim Delaney was he was the smartest guy in the room. Okay? There was no faking it. When Jim Delaney walked into a room, the rest of the suits looked around and shut the hell up because they knew that was the man. With Greg Sankey in the SEC, I'm getting a little bit of a vibe of a born on third, think I hit a triple type thing. And that used to be equalized, not necessarily Sankey, but the SEC in general, by Jim Delaney. Delaney could walk in, puff up his chest, and everybody would shut the hell up. This new Big Ten just kind of falls in line. Yeah, it comes from a place of power. I understand their economic outlook. I understand their place in the world, and their only, only person they can look eye to eye with is the SEC. I understand that, but it used to be you had the Big Ten kind of thought it was better than everybody else. Oh, we have our academics, and they would like look down at the SEC because they weren't like the pinky in the air enough. But then the SEC would look at the Big Ten and be like, look at these losers. They think that they play football. They don't know anything about it. They're elitist. And they kind of kept each other in line. Well, now that they're like together, I miss the old Big Ten that would keep the SEC and a lot of this garbage in check. that would call the SEC out. That's what I miss. And we are so far from being back into that spot. Like, that's not happening again. But that's the day I long for. I long for the day of when I got logged onto Twitter and a Big Ten fan hadn't lost its soul yet and would actually stand up to the SEC. Now y'all are just falling in line. Nobody cares about the good of the whole. And that's what, not going to get into that again. I've talked about that on this show a million times. Nobody cares about the good of the whole. This is so anti-European soccer. Where a Manchester United fan like genuinely looks out for the level 2 below it because it respects the tradition, it respects it respects the greater whole of the sport. Nobody cares about that in the United States, unfortunately. And all of us are guilty. And watch. You watch. There are going to be hypocritical Big 12 fans here. Okay? There will be hypocritical Big 12 fans when this shoe is on the basketball foot. Because that's coming. And that's something I'm really concerned about with all this. Like, I'm wondering if the greatest... Like, we're talking about all these, there's no money. Like, I wonder if there's going to be a greater shank job in all of this than what's going to happen to college basketball. Like, what in the hell? Like, what is the Valley in the future? So think about that. If we get to a point where, just throwing out a number here, this wouldn't happen, but there's 100 NCAA tournament teams. And all of the 5 or 6 high major leagues or whatever it is are guaranteed 10 spots. I mean, come on. Like, what are we doing? That's too big of a number. It would be more like 80 teams in the tournament. They're all guaranteed, leaving 20 at larges. Like, what makes it great is if you're a Valley fan and you feel like, man, all I got to do is get my team into the tournament, right? And it's probably not going to happen. I'm probably not going to win, but damn it, I'm in the dance. I got a shot. And like that's all just going away. And that's where, we have to have more than just a few people stand up and say this is wrong. That's why I told Chris this on the show the other day. That's why I respect Hassel so much. He's an Iowa fan. He's a Big Ten fan, but he can stand up and say this is bullshit. This isn't good for our sport. And I'm a little bit of a hypocrite here because what do I always tell you guys? Evolve or you die, right? And in a way, one could say the SEC and the Big Ten are evolving to their economic status, right? And they're looking out for their own. To which I would reply, that is the exact problem here. True leadership, true power in this world stands up for what's right. They look out for more than themselves. And the issue of college football and all of high major athletics is nobody cares about the whole. They all look out for themselves. That's the greatest issue here. The other, just the greatest problem here is the fact that they already have every advantage. So ask yourself this, what got the Big Ten and the SEC in this spot in the first place? Well, it's not perfect, right? Like, the Big Ten is kind of a bad example once you get past like the first like 6 schools. Because in the Big Ten, you've got a lot of like Purdue's and Rutgers. You got a lot of these like smaller places that aren't, you go there on a football Saturday and yeah, it's a big deal, but it's not Penn State. It's not Ohio State. SEC's got them too, right? Mississippi State, Starkville will be there. This isn't like a collection of the 28 greatest football programs. That's not what we're talking about here. But in general, they have the richest ones, especially now. after expansion and realignment and all that stuff. So you're generally going to these places that have the biggest fan bases. They have the richest television contracts. They're generally in really good cities, so they have that recruiting advantage. They can afford the best coaches. They can afford the best players. And now, and that's not enough. So now they have to go out and use that power to rig the system to favor themselves. It's never enough. And that's just where that's where it ends to me. It's like, when will it be enough? You give them this, okay. All right, give them this. Get the 4 gear. So, like, what's next? You think they're just going to sit there and be like, okay, this is good now? No, that won't happen. Because then they start smoking you out until at the end, you know, they're rich. They're taking a shit on a gold-plated toilet seat, and everybody else is starving because there's no money. Like, that's where this ends. And then they go, whoa, it's really a shame these guys couldn't keep up. And they go off and start their super league, and it's the end of college athletics as we know it. It's a shame. That's what I got for you today. This is going to evolve over the next 2 days. We'll talk about it on Two Guys coming up on Thursday. My name is Chris Williams in the Channel Seed Studio. We are presented, as always, by our friends at Steeple Ridge Bourbon here on Iowa Everywhere.